All right, all right, all right. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are doing great. Welcome, welcome, welcome for another edition of Sunday Market Outlook. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and being here as always. Um, we should be seeing everybody roll in now. We got about 14 people on. If you guys are there, let's get some energy in the chat box. Let me see what's up with you guys. As we head into the midway point of August. Let's go, let's go. And I ran a poll on all of the chats and whatnot, and you guys had let me know that you preferred to do this time a little bit better than what we've been running for the past good while. We had transitioned to doing Sunday market outlooks a little bit earlier in the afternoon just to kind of accommodate for some of the European markets that, have a big time difference and whatnot. I was always a fan of doing them more in the evening in my time zone. Just when we had the market kind of opening up and I don't know, it's just like it's a different vibe when we get to do it like more towards the nighttime, winding down, um, before we start tomorrow. But yeah, we got Aaron in the building. Albert, what's up? What's up? What's up? All right, let's get it, guys. So I think we're gonna just go ahead and dive in as we have everybody else start to tap in. I know again a lot of the people that were on the other side of the planet will probably end up watching the recording of this, which is great as well. So if you're watching the recorded version, hope you guys are doing great. As far as news goes, we don't really have any high impact stuff until FOMC on Wednesday. So I don't expect, too many eventful, crazy type of movements to start the week these first 2 days on Monday, Tuesday. Obviously, we can still always find setups if the market decides to, create some opportunities, but I wouldn't expect any big movements until FOMC. And once that rolls through, we also have unemployment claims, PMI, we have Powell speaking on Friday. So I think, we have plenty of high impact news from Wednesday on. That's definitely going to bring a lot of that volatility and whatnot. So typically when this happens, guys, as I've mentioned before, whenever we have FOMC week, a lot of times, well, it's always a Wednesday, right? First of all. And when that happens, usually Monday, Tuesday, we see more of a buildup of liquidity. All right. So a lot of more of a typical sideways movement, especially the Tuesday before. Just so that when FOMC rolls through, there's a lot of liquidity on both buy side and sell side. So what that will look like if we, take a look at some charts is typically, all right, if we have something like FOMC on Wednesday, then maybe not Monday, but for sure Tuesday, usually we'll have the market kind of hang around a certain area and build up some liquidity on both sides. FOMC will then kind of raid that and fly on both sides and do something like this and just kind of take out sellers and buyers on both sides of the market from the consolidation and then kind of make a true move. So we'll see, but that's usually the way it plays out. Um, Very similar to kind of like this type of price action that we saw from Thursday of this last week, where you can see this little buildup of liquidity and price kind of, sideswipe the market on both ends. Something very similar to this type of price action that we saw. All right. So that's as far as the fundamentals goes. Again, Wednesday onward is where we're really focusing on the news, kind of shifting the markets. So Monday, Tuesday, more of like a coasting by, building up liquidity type of situation is what I expect. So we will see. Um, Now, as far as NAS goes, if we kind of zoom out here, we've had like three bearish days in a row so far, where we've essentially had this Tuesday candle really spike us up, and since then we've just kind of been trending a little bit lower the last couple of days. Not any like big movements, but still printing bearish candles. The market did open with this rally right now on Nasdaq. I do expect us to make a full recovery back to the open of this candle. Usually whenever price expands without any type of, wicks to the downside or anything, we just kind of get that pop. Usually you will see those type of candles kind of get met again. If we would have had more of kind of like a wick to the downside, something like this, and then we had that type of movement, I would definitely trust this, to be a true movement upwards in the market. But right now, I just see the market kind of pushing higher, but I don't think that's gonna last. So just kind of looking at some liquidity stuff here. If we look at this high that we're basically taking out right now, that is one thing to look at. If we do continue to push a little bit higher, maybe gun for these previous highs over here as well. But for the most part, either basically now taking out this high or taking out this high, I would expect us to get a pretty strong push right back down. So that's kind of what I see just initially looking at the market open. I don't think that this is a true bullish move that's going to sustain whatsoever. So more on that. We'll see how this kind of continues to develop. I'm not really super, I'm not really like the type of person to really be super antsy to trade right at the beginning of the market open on a Sunday. It's just never been part of my routine. Sometimes I have called out some Sunday trades, but at minimum, I would still allow the market to kind of develop for at least about an hour until we get some more, some more activity. I will say I am interested in kind of trading Sunday today just because of how we opened so aggressively, already leaving a lot of fair value gap stuff here with this big 1 minute candle that opened us up today. So again, right now, it's either going to be after we take out this high or we end up reaching for this one. But I will either through early Sunday now, or if we allow the Asian range to form, find some type of ideas to kind of work our way back down into this gap that we just formed. So that's kind of what I would want to focus on to start the week, just as we're seeing it so far. Okay, so we can already see how when we take out major liquidity like this, guys, so we had just on this 1 minute candle to open up Sunday, we ended up taking basically all these short-term 1 minute highs. So all this 1 minute high, this 1 minute high, this 1 minute high, and basically this one as well. So all this liquidity that kind of came from, this was at Friday around 2 p.m. or 2 p.m. So from 2 p.m. to market close, we had all of this, slowly kind of like down channeling price here. And in 1 minute, we basically have, taken out the majority of that. And after about 10 minutes of price action on Sunday, we've already taken out all of those like short-term sellers from the end of Friday. So again, we did take a lot of liquidity just on this move so far alone. So if we are going to get a drop, it could come already right here. But if not, we'll probably reach for over here. Ideally, I would actually want this to just keep going because the more that we can actually keep this going, then the more we're gonna have to, move to get back down to that fair value gap, which means more profit for us, right? Because if the market starts to turn around now, and I'm not really trying to sell right now, the move from here to here, it's nice, but this is not that substantial. This is about a 400 pip move. All right, so we're usually looking for 1,000 or more is what I would usually say when I trade NAS. So if we look at that from maybe taking liquidity up here, you're looking at more of a like 900 pip move. We're kind of more in the ballpark of what we want to see there. Again, I'm looking at a very small time frame here of like a 1 minute. Some other 1 minute stuff that we see here is this fair value gap that was left behind from this drop at around 9:30. So this is market, New York Stock Exchange market open, fair value gap that kind of, set the tone on Friday for that drop off, right? So that was basically Friday's trade. But now it looks like we're just kind of moving our way back up into that gap. So as of right now, if I want to take advantage of some type of Sunday play, ideally, I would want to see us not touch this fair value gap whatsoever. Like just kind of leave that behind, keep this train going, take out this liquidity. So basically, we would take out all of the sellers that came in from the stock exchange open on Friday. So all of these sellers here kind of getting wiped out, rebalancing price here, and then getting that drop back into that gap. That's what I would really want to see to kind of take advantage of maybe a Sunday move. So yeah, if I don't see anything like that, I probably just won't want to take any trades. Again, I'm not one to usually force stuff on Sunday anyways. Okay. But yeah, again, a lot of fair value gaps being left behind. I love that. I absolutely love that. So let it keep doing that. Hopefully we can keep it pushing a little bit further. If we do get to short, maybe taking off this liquidity over here, a 300 pip stop loss is perfect from taking that liquidity because we're still covering like all of these highs from 930. And filling in this fair value gap will take us to about, yeah, 1.6 at minimum, tapping into it. But I think we can even get down to right where the market opened, which is almost a yeah, basically almost a 3-to-1 risk to reward trade. All right, so this is my ideal scenario. Just kind of let this high get washed. Hopefully we can take this high as well. And by that time, we should have a lot more fair value gaps that we can just kind of short and then catch a move like this. So this is like some opportunities that, again, sometimes on Sundays, I'm not so like looking into a position, more just so like taking a broader look of what's going on with NASDAQ as far as higher time frames and just kind of preparing for like long-term scenarios, which I'll do now. But sometimes whenever we get these very strong spikes on a Sunday, they leave these opportunities for us to catch an easy rebalancing play. And so all the times that I have, sometimes that I have sent trades that work well is these type of scenarios. You know, just having a huge spike in price, letting that kind of wash out until we run out of gas, and then taking us back into the gap. Okay. So let's see. Let's see if price wants to play with our thought process. If we end up taking this high and just kind of rebalance now, then whatever. We'll just let that go and not look for such a gimmicky type of trade. Really just kind of like our bread and butter stuff with the Asian range forming. All right, so that's a quick rapid fire breakdown to kind of start us off so far. Let me see what's up in the chat here. Nas only moves with government news like FOMC. So when it comes to Nas, I actually just made a recent video that you guys can check out on the channel about NAS. So it's what is NQ and why is everyone trading it? This video I made like 2 days ago. Highly recommend that you guys check out this video if you want to understand NAS a little bit further. But basically NAS, like I talked about in the video, um, it's a composite, right? It's a mix of a lot of different companies, primarily technology companies, and really the ones that kind of move the needle are Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Meta, Google. But really it's like these three: Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia. And I really pay attention to Nvidia, which is like the leader right now, and Apple. So the only other type of news that I really, really like to like pay attention to, and that's why I have it here on my little watch list, is what's going on with Nvidia. So you can see they have like an earnings report, okay? And these are like quarterly, okay? So the next one will be in about 10 days for Nvidia. Now, that type of news is always post-market, so that's at 4 p.m. Eastern. All right, so right at 4 p.m. Eastern, that is when these type of earnings get reported, and sometimes we'll see a crazy spike on NAS that can happen that last hour of New York session. Same thing with Apple. You can have dividends, earnings, all that stuff. We don't really, I think Apple recently just had their earnings and all that stuff, so we're not gonna see anything like that for quite some time. All right. So I would really focus on just like the Nvidia one right now mainly, which is in 10 days. So it's not really far, like it's not something you gotta pay attention to all the time. All right. But yeah, obviously if something happens with Nvidia or Apple or something, that can definitely affect NASDAQ, but NASDAQ is not just one company, right? It's 100 different companies. But the majority of the volume and percentage of what, makes it what it is gonna be just about 7 companies. So again, whatever happens with Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, all at the same time is going to be very important to what happens with NAS. But government news in general for sure is like the main thing that I always want to pay attention to and kind of be on the lookout for. Because when you talk about interest rates, when it comes to FOMC, or when you talk about just any like high impact news, it's always the perfect excuse for driving price to levels of liquidity, rebalancing areas. So don't get me wrong, like fundamentals for like paying attention to news and fundamentals for like an investor, like long term, I think is obviously something that you want to be more in tune with and like take more into account for investment purposes. But when it comes to day trading, it's speculating at the end of the day, and when you speculate, this type of financial news stuff, like it has more long-term implications than it really does in the short term. So really, when it comes to like, trading a 5-minute chart, a 15-minute chart, day trading, really, you're just gonna use that news to kind of like be able to time when manipulation is gonna happen, when they're gonna take areas of liquidity. It's just basically like letting us know when they're gonna have the excuse to kind of like spike price. You know what I mean? So again, when you do like intraday trading, day trading, a lot of it is gonna be technicals based, and yeah, you can incorporate fundamentals for sure, but usually the effects of fundamentals are delayed. Like they will show afterwards. It's not really gonna cause, short-term things. Sometimes even like, what you would think causes something to rise, you'll see price like spike down first and then has a mega rise over the next like hours and days. And you're like, oh, I knew the news was gonna, bring this thing up, but first it kind of washes out all of the early buyers, for example, taking all that liquidity, and then the move goes, you know? So just always keep that in mind. But yeah, as far as like what type of news to pay attention to, other than like USD based government news, is always gonna be like what happens with those top companies that make up NASDAQ. And obviously, whatever you're trading, whether it's stocks, forex pairs, commodities, like you gotta be in tune a little bit to like what moves those specific things. But yeah, NAS is pretty simple to kind of know what moves it for sure. Let's see. Guido, ¿cómo estás? What's up? What's up? So China putting a restriction on buying Nvidia H20 chips might move the market. Um, yeah, you could say like if that affects Nvidia a lot, then you'll probably see some type of reaction for sure like that on NAS. But NAS isn't just Nvidia, you know what I mean? So it'll have a certain weight to it, but ultimately it's not gonna just be like, the shock collar for NAS. So like if you compare Nvidia, like the chart, right, on a 4 hour compared to like NAS, it's not really like the exact same. But, whenever Nvidia has its, nice trending days, you're gonna see that kind of happen as well on NAS. But if you look at something like Apple, it's also doing the same thing. So it's a mix. It's not just Nvidia, but also Apple, also Microsoft. It just happens to be that as of right now, Nvidia is the leader. Okay. But they're not the leader by a huge long shot. It's pretty close between the top like three. Again, this is all stuff you can obviously look at as well, like NASDAQ, top companies, for example. And you'll see like hold on, let me see. Here we go. So you'll see like the market cap, you'll see the price of the stock, everything like that here. But like the market cap right now for Nvidia, you can see is like it's pretty decently pushing above Microsoft, but like Microsoft and Apple um are both very strong as well, you know. My God, I keep clicking this thing. So like the drop off really jumps down to like when you get to like number six. So like between Nvidia and Meta, you can see it like double basically, right? So yeah, Nvidia for sure is something to definitely pay attention to and respect, but Google, Apple, Microsoft, they're gonna have their weight that can kind of hold things. So you might see, like Nvidia stock could be heavily affected short term, and then NAS kind of like has a small dip, right? But like Nvidia's dip is like this. So like Nvidia's dip could be like really strong, and then NAS's dip could be like smaller. And it's because it's not the exact same stock, obviously. Like it has so many other things that can keep it up, for example. But if there's some type of news that drops Nvidia and Apple, and Microsoft, then you're gonna see NAS follow suit because it's just like too many of the top companies all doing the same thing. But yeah, as far as like this 1 minute chart that we're still looking at for Apple, I mean for Apple, for NAS, you're seeing that once you take liquidity like this, you're always gonna see price kind of start to show its hand a little bit. You see a lot of people here once you take liquidity, how price has kind of like stalled a little bit. But essentially now, like if this was gonna drop off, you'd want to see the price start to break and close below here. Okay, and then using that to kind of take us down to here. But in general, I think as long as we either kind of like fake that downside and keep going up, or if we've already kind of maintained the lows and keep going, that's what we do want to see right now. There's gonna be people that are gonna be selling this right now for sure. But I don't think we want to do that just yet. Again, for right now, I would be more focused on just kind of letting price hopefully use this as like a premature like sell off. Like it looks like it's gonna sell off, but it actually doesn't. Like it rejects and keeps going higher. And then if we can tap into this area, I would want to see some signs of rejection to take us down. So still waiting on that. Hmm. All right, but long term, again, we did have like back to back to back bearish days. So if we look at kind of where the wick was left behind on a daily time frame, it's around that 23,810 area to about 23,883. So this is that last wick. We look at this wick on the daily. We stretch that out basically to here. Okay, so this is where price could even potentially continue to reach to if it wants to tap into, those wicks that were left behind from the daily candle for Friday, which does kind of fall in line as well with the fair value gap that I'm looking to kind of like tap into on the small time frame. So there's a lot of what's it called? There's a lot of confluence with that, okay? Or a lot of, fat what's it called? Confirmations. Like what's the word I'm looking for? Confirmations for this idea. So we can tap into that daily wick and that fair value gap up here. That's a lot of different things that are on our side there. So let's see, man. And I would send this as an alert for a cost check. So if you're in the private mentorship program, you'll see this come in as an alert. If you're not in a cost checks, then definitely you guys are going to want to take advantage of that. So these Sunday market outlook calls, I just kind of go over what I see for the week to start so far and just kind of like set the tone for for the week as far as just having the discipline to like prepare yourself for a week instead of trying to get caught on your heels on Monday with looking at, what am I trying to find? What's the narrative that I'm trying to, see right now with NAS, etc. So just doing this work beforehand is really for me, but you guys can kind of like just hang out with me while I do this stuff. And if you guys want to take advantage of those same moves with me, then by all means. But obviously, Monday through Friday, I'll do my live sessions in English and Spanish, where we'll kind of live trade if there's opportunities following my strategy. Or if not, at least kind of review past setups or, future potential setups and just always kind of be in the loop together about how we trade NAS. It is like the one and only thing I mainly trade because at the end of the day, if you have a very like aggressive asset that moves, thousands of pips a day, there's not really a need to add more to your watch list unless you just, I don't know, you just like to have multiple things to trade, but it's not really necessary. I think if you can get really good at trading one thing, Nasdaq is just something that provides plenty of opportunity, even if it's not every single day necessarily. Every single week, you will have at least 2 to 3 very nice days, especially if you have like a great strategy with a strong edge. That's really what you need. So for people that like, know a little bit about my strategy, this is stuff that I'll talk about in the sessions. Usually, we'll look for these setups based off of my Liberty strategy. And yeah, there was multiple sell-off opportunities where we could see price kind of like faking above Asia here during London session. Those are great indications for sells based off of what I teach. And then we saw price basically at 9:30 slam through the lows here, which set up some really nice sell-off opportunities here as well. So whether it was, London session or New York session trades, following the strategy based off of Asia, there was definitely a lot of sell-off stuff to pay attention to. So we'll see. Once we have our new range that kind of forms tonight and leaves behind, this red shaded area, when we get something like that form, that'll just add more to our trade idea. So for all I know, we could always like still hover around here for the next couple hours. I don't think we will, but it's possible. And so if we end up forming a range like this, somewhere up in this area, so let's say we get a range that looks something like this. We'll have a low and a high, and I'd be looking at price kind of like taking out that high and low and move to where the day opened here. So we'll see. Appreciate you, bro. But yeah, guys, other than that, I mean, this is pretty much like what we need to understand for now so far. Um, one thing about trading is like if you have to try a little, like if you have to try too hard to find a setup, then there's probably not a good setup available, and you're just trying to find something to trade instead of like actually having a good opportunity. So for now, we just kind of like vibe out and let the market continue to set itself up. Some people are like super itchy to trade like as soon as they possibly can on a Sunday, but it's not about wanting to trade. It's about, being allowed to trade based off of like rules and things that you set up based off of a strategy. If you guys don't have a strategy or a way to like know when and when not to trade, I mean, you're just always gonna be able to find a trade. And I don't know, I just feel like consistency wise and having issues with over trading and all that is gonna happen to you. So yeah, just don't be so eager to pull the trigger all the time. Only be eager to like find a way to be duplicatable day in and day out, week in and week out to know exactly what to look for over and over. Because if you just keep looking for the same type of plays, eventually you're gonna master those type of plays, you know? So again, like people that know my strategy of being able to like look at breakouts and fake outs of Asia, like you're gonna start to see those setups happen over the next weeks, months, and maybe even years if you really stick to it long term. And it's gonna be like second nature to jump into those trades. And all the stuff in the middle, we just don't care about it. All this stuff in the middle, we just don't care about it. We just know when it's time to trade, when it's not time to trade. So yeah, somebody could see this 1 minute candle at market open and be like, oh my God, market's pumping and get in, but you might hit it today and then next Sunday you try that and the next 2, 3 Sundays you try that and it just doesn't work. And then you realize like, oh, I just kind of got lucky that one Sunday. Right? We don't want to try to find setups that we get lucky about, we want to be able to do it over and over. So wait for our setup and then we'll execute. Until then, we'll just chill out. But yeah, guys, we have some cool events coming up. If you are a part of the Akashics program, we got Atlanta coming up in October. We have Rome coming up in a couple of weeks. Um, in Italy, I know there's some Vancouver events for Canada that are about to drop from some leaders out there in about like a week or so. So yeah, man, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Um, but yeah, other than that, man, we're just kind of uh keeping the train going. I was talking to some of the guys as well that trade indices that are in Akashics that are educators, and we do want to set up some type of boot camp for indices and futures. We're just kind of like finalizing those conversations and actually like picking a date, the exact speakers, and just kind of like hashing out all the exact topics that we want to talk about. So I'll give you guys some more info once we have that. But we do want to try to do that maybe like early this week or something like that, because that's been due for sure. I feel like we have a lot of good indices traders, but we kind of all do our own thing. So I want to try to have us just collab and give the community something to kind of rally around. So yeah, that's something we got planned out as well. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions, this is a pretty good time, I would say, to definitely drop them in the chat if you guys have any as we step into this new week. But yeah, other than questions, pretty much I think have the general idea of what we're going to be looking for our first trade of the week so far. It's honestly looking good. I'm excited about this trade. There's some setups that you kind of like, you're like not really sure, or should I trust it? Should I not trust it? And then there's other setups that just look like they're really clean. And this just feels like one of those setups for me that could be very, very clean. We just need the market to kind of get us there first. Do I use Zeus? Okay, so that's a great question. So Zeus, for the people that don't know, it's part of Akashic. So if we actually come into Akashics here, um, it's basically our crypto trading service. So if you guys come in here and you guys want to be able to, take advantage of, creating a account with Zeus and kind of, getting tapped in with Armin and some of the educators that are sending trade ideas and investment ideas there for cryptos. This is where you want to be at. I personally haven't like gone full force with Zeus personally, but that's just because like I've have my own crypto portfolio, I have my own plays and things that I've been running as well. So I always tell people like when you when you kind of like really want to become self-sufficient and like you have your plan, you try not to incorporate other people's stuff all the time. So not saying I won't do Zeus at all, but it would have to be like a portion of like my money that I would just have there for that specific reason. And that's it, because like I have my own ideas and things that I would look for on my own for crypto as well. So it just depends, but for people that aren't really like in tune with crypto or like don't really know what to do or what to invest in, or I don't know, like they just want to find something more automated that they don't have to look at, then of course it's a great solution for that crowd to take advantage of something like Zeus. So I always tell people like if you're part of Akashics, just make sure that you communicate and you learn from the people that run it. So like specifically Armin primarily is the main person that's like really running Zeus and everything. So you always go in there, you can see the pre-made videos that kind of walk you through what it is, how it works, what to expect, what type of returns, all those different good questions. So I never tried to like talk about things that I'm not like super expert on or that I personally run heavy. So I always say like, yo, if you want to do Zeus, make sure you guys tap into Armin stuff. It's what I will always say, you know. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's a service that's offered now in Akashics for a reason, and we've already seen some testimonials of, accounts moving up with it and everything. So I have full faith in the traders that are running it. But again, you always just gotta make sure that whoever you're learning from or like making moves with, that you kind of build at least a minimal relationship with that person, at least like, plugging into their stuff, asking them questions, just kind of being acquainted, you know what I mean? So that's what I would say for sure about Zeus. All right. But yeah, guys, we're about 40 minutes in. I think we basically covered the main things that I wanted to show for NAS. So now we just kind of gotta let the market continue to move up to where we want to get in at. If you guys are in Akashics, again, just be on the lookout for any trade alerts, because if we do get this type of scenario, I would be interested in sending it out as an alert to kind of kickstart us for the week and take it from there. So appreciate you guys for sure for always tapping into these live sessions. I do them every Sunday as much as possible if we don't have any like travel or any plans like that, just to kind of prep us for the week. All right, but for now, I guess we'll keep doing 6 p.m. unless we get more of the European market or people just kind of like find it easier to tap in earlier on a Sunday. But yeah, other than that, if you guys haven't checked out the latest video we just did on NASDAQ and you guys want to learn more about how NAS works and everything, definitely recommend you guys check that out. It's like a 15-minute video, but very good info for sure about how I trade NAS. But other than that, guys, I'm gonna get up out of here. Tomorrow we have our live session in Spanish if you guys are a part of Akashex. And then our English sessions will be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And yeah, hopefully this week we get to catch a lot more, um, higher risk to reward type of trade. I've been on like a very small winning, like I've been sending a lot of trades that have been like hitting small winners slash break evens lately. So I already know that the big trades are just around the corner. It's just a matter of our edge kind of playing out that way. So looking forward to kind of catching those and sending those out. So yeah, I'll see you guys. Appreciate you guys for being here as always. And I will see y'all next Sunday. If you guys are not part of Akashex, you guys can check out the links in the description if you guys want to tap into the brokers, prop firms, or any private mentorship stuff that we got going on. Again, all links are in the description. But if you guys are in Akashex, you guys kind of already know the deal. All right. So much love. I'll see you.